Hello, my dear friends. Today I want to share my story with you. A story that might feel like yours, a story about struggle, fear, and finally, confidence. My name is Emma Carter. I'm 22 years old and I live in Austin, Texas, United States. I'm a college student majoring in business administration. English is my first language, but speaking fluently with confidence, especially in public or with new people, has always been a challenge for me. I used to struggle with expressing my thoughts clearly, feeling nervous in conversations, and sometimes even avoiding situations where I had to talk to people. But over time, I found ways to overcome these fears, and today I can confidently say that I enjoy talking to people in English. If you've ever felt nervous speaking in English, if you've ever wanted to improve your speaking skills but didn't know where to start, then this story is for you. Let me take you back to where it all began. I grew up in Austin, Texas, in a middle-class family. My parents, Mark and Laura Carter, were both hardworking people. My dad worked as an accountant, and my mom was a school teacher. I also have a younger brother, Jake, who is 18 years old and still in high school. Growing up, I was always shy. I was good at writing and reading, but when it came to speaking, I would freeze. In school, whenever the teacher asked me to speak in front of the class, my heart would pound, my hands would get sweaty, and my voice would shake. I knew the answer, but I just couldn't get the words out properly. One of the hardest moments in my life was when I had to give a presentation in high school. It was for my history class, and I had spent days preparing my slides. I knew my topic well, but the moment I stood in front of the class, my mind went blank. I stuttered, my voice cracked, and I could hear my classmates whispering. Some were trying to be encouraging, but I felt embarrassed. That day, I decided I never wanted to feel like that again. When I started college, I knew I had to change. I couldn't avoid speaking forever. I had to learn how to talk to people in English confidently. The first step I took was observation. I started paying attention to how other people spoke. I noticed that confident speakers didn't rush their words. They maintained eye contact, and they seemed comfortable even if they made mistakes. I realized that making mistakes while speaking was normal. Nobody spoke perfectly all the time. The second step was practice. I started small. Instead of avoiding conversations, I made an effort to talk more. At first, it was just small interactions. Greeting the cashier at the grocery store, asking my professors questions after class, and talking to my classmates about assignments. I would challenge myself to start at least one conversation every day. One of the biggest turning points for me was when I joined a public speaking club on campus. My friend Olivia convinced me to attend a meeting. I was terrified, but I went. At the meeting, everyone had to introduce themselves and speak for 1 minute about any topic. My turn came, and I was so nervous, but I pushed through. My voice was shaky, but I did it. The members were kind and supportive, and I realized that the fear was mostly in my head. Over time, I learned techniques that helped me become a better speaker. I practiced speaking slowly and clearly. I learned how to organize my thoughts before speaking. I also started recording myself to analyze my speech and improve my pronunciation. One of the best things I did was speaking in front of a mirror. It helped me become comfortable with seeing myself speak. I would pretend I was having a conversation with someone and practice different topics. This helped me build confidence in how I presented myself. Another important thing I did was reading out loud. Whenever I read a book or an article, I would read it aloud to practice my pronunciation and fluency. This also helped me get used to hearing my own voice. I also learned the importance of body language. Good speakers don't just use words, they use their hands, facial expressions, and posture to communicate effectively. I practice standing tall, making eye contact, and using my hands naturally while talking. One of the hardest challenges was handling unexpected conversations. Sometimes I would be in a group discussion and someone would ask me something I wasn't prepared for. In the past, I would panic, but I trained myself to stay calm. I learned to pause, take a breath, and then respond. The real test came when I had to give a presentation in my college business class. This time, I was prepared, not just with the material, but with confidence. I stood in front of the class, took a deep breath, and started speaking. I didn't rush. I made eye contact. I even smiled. And guess what? I did well. My professor complimented my clarity, and some of my classmates told me they enjoyed my presentation. That moment proved to me that I had truly improved. After that triumphant presentation, my journey took an exciting turn. I soon realized that every step forward opened up new opportunities to practice speaking, connect with people, and even push myself into unexpected challenges. My newfound confidence wasn't just limited to the classroom, it spilled over into every part of my life. I started seeking out events and activities on campus that allowed me to interact with others. And that was when I joined a student-run business competition team. Working with a diverse group of talented students, among them were Emily Rodriguez, a quick-witted marketing major from Miami, Lucas Bennett, a thoughtful finance student from New York, and Samantha Lee, a creative spirit from San Francisco. We were tasked with developing a comprehensive business proposal for a startup challenge. During our brainstorming sessions at a local cafe in downtown Austin, we would share ideas, debate strategies, and sometimes even disagree fiercely, yet always respectfully. The meetings were long and challenging, but they taught me a lot about the art of conversation. I learned that listening was as important as speaking, and that the beauty of discussion lay in the diversity of thought. Every discussion was a chance to further hone my English and to learn new vocabulary, as well as cultural references that made our debates richer and more engaging. As the weeks turned into months, I found myself taking on more leadership roles. I began coordinating our team's weekly meetings and even started moderating discussions when disagreements arose. One memorable evening, our group gathered at a quiet park in Austin, the city lights reflecting on the small pond nearby. I was tasked with leading a discussion on risk management in business, a topic that initially terrified me because of its complexity. However, as I started sharing my research and personal insights, I realized that my teammates weren't just waiting for me to speak. They were engaging, asking thoughtful questions, and even sharing their own challenges. In that moment, I recognized that every person in that circle was learning from each other. The support and camaraderie in that group made me see how much growth could happen when people speak openly and honestly. There were times when the path wasn't smooth. I remember a particular group meeting when a misunderstanding about the project's direction led to tension. Emotions ran high, and for a few moments the conversation nearly derailed. I felt that familiar twinge of anxiety creeping in, and for a split second, I wanted to retreat. But then I remembered all the progress I had made: the presentations, the public speaking club sessions, the countless conversations at the grocery store and in hallways. I took a deep breath and calmly clarified my points, asking others for their perspective. Slowly, the discussion returned to a constructive tone and we reached a consensus. That experience taught me that conflict was not a sign of failure, but rather an opportunity to learn how to communicate even better and to understand different viewpoints. Beyond the competition, my campus life became a fertile ground for personal and professional growth. I began volunteering at community events organized by the university's cultural exchange program. At these gatherings, I met international students from every corner of the globe, from Japan and Germany to Brazil and South Korea. Each conversation was a bridge between cultures, a chance to learn not only about different accents and idioms, but also about diverse ways of life. I found that my ability to speak clearly in English allowed me to serve as a kind of informal ambassador, welcoming newcomers and helping them adjust to the life in the United States. In return, I learned a great deal about humility, respect, and the universal desire for connection. One day, while attending a networking event at a local business incubator, I met Mr. Jonathan Price, a seasoned entrepreneur known for his work in the tech startup scene. Jonathan had a way of speaking that was both direct and warm. His conversation was sprinkled with humor and anecdotes from his own early days, and listening to him speak gave me further confidence in my own abilities. When he learned about my involvement in public speaking and group projects, he offered to mentor me. Our meetings were informal, a mix of coffee chats and occasional lunch breaks, but they became a cornerstone of my learning. Jonathan emphasized the importance of authenticity over perfection. People aren't looking for flawless English, he would say. They want to connect with someone genuine who is willing to share their story and learn from others. His words resonated deeply with me, reinforcing the idea that speaking was not about being perfect, but about being real. As time passed, I began to integrate these lessons into my daily routines. Mornings would start with reading the news out loud as I sipped my coffee, and evenings often ended with reflections on the day's conversations in a journal. I even started a small blog on campus where I shared tips on overcoming language barriers and stories of small victories. The blog, titled Everyday English Encounters, quickly gained a modest following. Fellow students as well as international visitors began to comment and share their own experiences. Reading their responses was like hearing a chorus of voices, all encouraging one another to keep pushing forward. One particularly vivid memory remains etched in my mind. It was the day of the final pitch for our business competition. I remember standing backstage, my heart pounding as I listened to the murmurs of the crowd and the final checks being made by our team. My teammates, Emily, Lucas, Samantha, and a few others I'd met along the way, gave me reassuring nods and whispered words of encouragement. I stepped onto the stage, the bright lights momentarily blinding me, and took a slow, deep breath. As I began speaking, I noticed a young woman in the audience who looked particularly anxious, clutching her notebook tightly. After my presentation, she approached me with wide eyes and said, "Your speech made me believe that I too can overcome my fear of speaking in English." That moment was a profound reminder of why I had embarked on this journey. It wasn't just about me, it was about inspiring others to break free from their own self imposed limitations. In the weeks following the competition, life continued to offer both challenges and triumphs. I balanced my academic work with internships, social engagements, and the continuous effort to refine my communication skills. I began to see that every conversation was a lesson, every misstep an opportunity to grow. Even in moments of solitude, late nights spent poring over textbooks or early mornings before classes, I carried the spirit of those conversations with me. The journey of learning to talk to people in English was not a destination, but an ongoing process. There were days when I still felt the weight of uncertainty, but those days were few and far between compared to the moments of clarity and connection. My parents, Mark and Laura Carter, noticed the change too. They would often remark on my newfound confidence during our family dinners. My younger brother Jake began to ask for advice on how to express himself better in his school presentations, and I found joy in sharing the techniques that had helped me. It was heartwarming to realize that my personal growth was inspiring those closest to me. As I continued on my academic journey, I also started exploring opportunities to speak on broader platforms. I attended regional conferences, participated in intercollegiate debates, and even delivered a guest lecture on effective communication at a nearby community college. Each event was a new chapter, a chance to build on my previous experiences and to connect with people from different walks of life. I often recall Jonathan Price's words during these moments, reminding myself that authenticity was the key to genuine connection. One late autumn afternoon, while sitting in a quaint coffee shop in downtown Austin, I reflected on how far I had come. The aroma of freshly brewed coffee, the soft hum of background conversations, and the comforting rhythm of life around me all converged to create a perfect moment of introspection. I realized that my journey had been shaped not only by the successes, but also by the struggles and moments of vulnerability. Each stumble had been a stepping stone, each fear a challenge to be overcome. I had learned that speaking, really speaking, was as much about listening as it was about expressing oneself. It was about creating bridges between hearts and minds. That day, I decided to take my journey a step further. I began planning a community workshop titled Connecting Through Conversation, designed to help others overcome their fears of speaking in English. The workshop was open to everyone, from local high school students to recent immigrants who might feel overwhelmed by the cultural and linguistic challenges of living in the United States. I partnered with a few of my peers, including Olivia, who had been my first push into the world of public speaking, and Emily, whose creative insights always sparked lively discussions. Together, we crafted sessions that combined interactive activities, role playing scenarios, and group discussions. The first workshop was held at a community center in Austin. I vividly remembered the nervous excitement as people of all ages and backgrounds filtered into the room. Some wore traditional business attire, while others were in casual clothes, Some spoke hesitantly, while others chatted with ease. I began by sharing my own story, detailing the years of struggle, the countless hours of practice, and the transformative experiences that had shaped me. I talked about my early days of stuttering during presentations, the anxiety of stepping onto a stage, and the profound impact of small, everyday interactions that gradually built my confidence. I explained that every single person in that room had the potential to overcome their own hurdles. Questions and comments flowed freely after my talk. A middle aged man from Houston shared his own story of overcoming a fear of public speaking for work, while a college student from New York spoke about the pressure of academic presentations. Their stories, interwoven with mine, created a tapestry of shared human experience. One participant, a shy teenager named Mia, timidly approached me after the session. She said, "Hearing you speak about your struggles and triumphs made me realize that I'm not alone. I want to try, even if it scares me." That moment, simple yet profound, reinforced the idea that communication was a universal tool, a way to empower not just oneself, but others as well. As the workshop series continued over the next few months, I noticed a transformation in the community. People began to step out of their comfort zones. New friendships blossomed, and individuals started organizing small meetups to practice conversational English. One afternoon, while chatting with Olivia and Lucas over lunch at our favorite campus diner, we laughed about the irony of how our once daunting English conversations had now become a source of empowerment and joy. The United States, with its diverse melting pot of cultures and languages, had taught me that while English was our shared medium, it was the authenticity behind every word that truly mattered. In retrospect, my journey wasn't about mastering a language in the traditional sense. It was about embracing the vulnerability of speaking, the courage to be heard, and the commitment to connect with people on a deeper level. Every encounter, whether it was a casual greeting at a coffee shop or a high stakes presentation in front of a room full of experts, became a lesson in empathy, resilience, and growth. Looking ahead, I know there will always be moments of hesitation, and the art of conversation will forever be a work in progress. Yet, I am more determined than ever to keep pushing my boundaries, to keep learning, and to keep sharing my story with anyone who might be struggling. For every person who doubts their voice, I want them to know that the journey of communication is filled with challenges, but it is also rich with rewards. My life as a student in the United States continues to be a blend of academic pursuits, personal adventures, and countless conversations. And every time I step up to speak, whether on a stage, in a classroom, or simply during a heartfelt chat, I remember that first day when I vowed never to let fear silence me. That promise has carried me through every obstacle and every victory. As the days turned into months, I found that every new encounter added another vibrant thread to the tapestry of my life. My journey of overcoming the fear of speaking English had become not just a personal quest, but a mission to empower others through authentic, heartfelt conversation. One bright winter morning, I received an invitation to speak at the National Youth Communication Forum in Chicago, a city bustling with diversity and energy. The invitation was both exhilarating and nerve-wracking. I was to share my journey of breaking through barriers and using English as a bridge to connect with people from all walks of life. As I prepared for the forum, I reflected on how far I had come from the timid girl who once hesitated to speak even a single word in public. In the weeks leading up to the forum, my mentor, Jonathan Price, continued to guide me. We spent several afternoons at a quiet coffee shop near the University of Texas, where we discussed not only the logistics of my upcoming talk, but also the deeper aspects of communication, like the balance between expressing one's ideas and truly listening. Jonathan often reminded me, the goal isn't to have flawless English, Emma. It's to share your truth in a way that resonates with others. His words echoed in my mind as I practiced in front of friends and even recorded short snippets of my speech to fine-tune my tone and pace. The night before the forum, I couldn't sleep. I revisited memories of past workshops, group meetings, and even those awkward moments in high school where my words tangled in my throat. I thought of Olivia's gentle encouragement, of Emily Rodriguez's creative insights, of Lucas Bennett's calm pragmatism, and of Samantha Lee's knack for infusing humor into every discussion. I even remembered Mia's shy smile at the workshop. Each of these faces reminded me that my journey was part of a larger movement toward open and honest communication. On the day of the forum, as I stepped onto the stage in a packed auditorium in Chicago, I felt a calm assurance that had been nurtured through years of persistence and practice. I began by recounting my early struggles, the heart-pounding anxiety before presentations, the relentless self-doubt, and the countless times I almost gave up. I spoke candidly about the challenges of being a student in a fast-paced, competitive academic environment, and how every stumble was a lesson in resilience. The audience, a mix of young professionals, educators, and even community leaders, listened intently. I shared practical tips I'd learned along the way, the importance of pausing to collect your thoughts, the benefits of reading aloud to build fluency, and the surprising power of body language to convey confidence. I emphasized that effective communication wasn't about perfection. It was about connection, empathy, and the courage to be vulnerable. During the question and answer session that followed, a young woman named Alicia from New York asked, "How did you overcome the fear of judgment when you started speaking in public?" I paused, remembering the many instances when I had felt the sting of criticism and the overwhelming pressure of expectation. I answered, I learned that every word, even a hesitant one, is part of my story. I embraced my imperfections and realized that my genuine desire to connect with you all mattered more than flawless grammar or perfect pronunciation. The room filled with nods and warm smiles, and I could sense that my words were resonating deeply. After the forum, I received a flood of messages and emails from people all across the country, students, professionals, immigrants, and even retirees, sharing their own struggles and triumphs with speaking English. One email from a man named Michael Anderson from San Francisco stood out. He explained how my talk had inspired him to start attending local meetups to practice his conversational skills, something he had long resisted due to his shyness. It was incredibly moving to realize that my journey had sparked a ripple effect, encouraging others to step out of their comfort zones. Buoyed by the success of the forum, I decided to embark on another initiative. Alongside Olivia, Emily, Lucas, Samantha, and a few other friends from various backgrounds, I organized a series of cafe conversations in different cities across the United States. These informal gatherings were held in local coffee shops, community centers, and even outdoor parks, wherever people felt comfortable. The idea was simple: to create a space where anyone, whether a student, a working professional, or an immigrant, could practice speaking English in a relaxed, supportive environment. At one such gathering in Los Angeles, I met Carlos, a first generation American who had always felt caught between two cultures. Carlos shared that although he grew up speaking Spanish at home, he often felt alienated in professional settings where English dominated. Over cups of steaming coffee, he recounted his struggles and the moments when he almost stopped trying. Listening to his story reminded me that language was much more than a tool for communication. It was also a window into identity, culture, and personal history. We spent hours discussing the nuances of bilingual life, and by the end of the evening, Carlos told me he felt more empowered to embrace both sides of his heritage. These cafe conversations soon became a beacon of community spirit. I began receiving invitations from local schools and community centers to speak about my experiences and to facilitate workshops on public speaking. In one particularly memorable session in Denver, Colorado, I joined forces with a group of educators to develop interactive activities that encourage students to share their own stories. One activity involved pairing up participants to discuss a topic they were passionate about, such as music, art, or even the latest technological trends. I watched with pride as shy voices grew stronger and hesitant words turned into confident statements. Every conversation was a victory, a testament to the transformative power of speaking up. Even as my public engagements increased, I made sure to continue nurturing my personal growth. I kept a daily journal, jotting down reflections on each conversation, every challenging interaction, and the subtle improvements I noticed in myself. I revisited the recordings of my early speeches, comparing them with my current talks, and marveled at the progress. The journal became a sacred space where I recorded not just the practical tips I had learned, but also the emotional milestones. The moments when I truly felt heard, when I found the courage to ask difficult questions, or when I helped someone else overcome their own silence. In my quieter moments, I also dedicated time to creative pursuits that enriched my understanding of language. I enrolled in a creative writing class where I learned to craft stories that were both personal and universal. The act of writing, much like speaking, required vulnerability and honesty. I experimented with different narrative styles and discovered that storytelling was a powerful medium to convey not just facts, but the emotions and experiences behind them. My professor, Dr. Karen Thompson, often encouraged me to write from the heart, a phrase that became my guiding principle both in writing and in speaking. This phase of my journey also brought unexpected challenges. Balancing academic responsibilities with my growing role as a public speaker sometimes felt overwhelming. There were nights when I questioned whether I was stretching myself too thin, doubting if I could maintain the same level of authenticity while juggling multiple roles. Yet, in those moments of uncertainty, I reminded myself of the countless lives that had been touched by a simple conversation. The person in Chicago who felt less alone after my talk, the student in Los Angeles who finally joined a discussion, or Carlos who found the courage to embrace his bilingual identity. During one particularly challenging week when deadlines were piling up and the stress of academia threatened to smother my creative spark, I received a call from Samantha Lee. Samantha, always the optimist, checked in on me with genuine concern. "Emma, remember that your voice has the power to change the world," she said softly. Her words rekindled a flame of determination within me. I realized that my journey was not just about public recognition or professional success. It was about making a tangible difference in the lives of people who struggled with the same fears I once had. Encouraged by this renewed sense of purpose, I began planning a nationwide podcast series called Conversations That Connect. In the podcast, I invited guests from all walks of life to share their experiences with language and communication. Each episode featured in-depth interviews with educators, entrepreneurs, immigrants, and even artists who use language as a tool to bridge gaps between cultures. The podcast quickly gained traction, and soon I found myself engaging in lively dialogues with people like Dr. Sarah Mitchell, a linguistics professor who provided fascinating insights into the evolution of English as a global language, and Jamal Harris, a community organizer from Atlanta who shared moving stories of resilience and hope. One episode that particularly stood out was a conversation with a group of high school students from Detroit. They spoke candidly about the pressures of modern education, the impact of social media on communication, and their dreams of a future where every voice, regardless of background or accent, would be valued. Listening to their raw, unfiltered emotions was both inspiring and humbling. It reminded me that the journey of mastering language was an ongoing process, not just for me, but for everyone who dared to speak their truth. As my experiences broadened, so did my vision for the future. I began collaborating with organizations that focused on educational outreach and community development. I helped design programs that integrated public speaking skills into after-school activities, ensuring that even those with limited resources had access to platforms where their voices could be nurtured and celebrated. In one such collaboration with a nonprofit organization in New Orleans, I participated in a week-long summit that brought together educators, community leaders, and inspiring public speakers. The summit was a melting pot of ideas where workshops were interspersed with storytelling sessions and interactive role-playing games. It was during these sessions that I truly realized how deeply intertwined language, culture, and community were. One evening at the summit, as we gathered for a bonfire on the banks of the Mississippi River, I found myself sitting next to a gentle, elderly gentleman named Henry, who had spent his life advocating for literacy in his community. Over the soft crackling of the fire, Henry recounted his early days of teaching in a small rural town where access to education was a luxury. His voice, though weathered by time, carried a wisdom that resonated deeply within me. "Language is not just a means of communication, Emma," he said quietly. "It is the heartbeat of a community." His words sparked a profound realization. Every conversation we have, every word we speak, is a testament to our collective humanity. By the time I returned to Austin, my life had become a rich mosaic of experiences, a blend of academic pursuits, public engagements, personal reflections, and community service. I continue to work diligently on my studies, but I also made time to nurture the relationships that had blossomed along my journey. Family dinners with Mark, Laura, and Jake became a cherished ritual where stories flowed as freely as the laughter that filled our home. Even in the midst of a busy schedule, I found solace in quiet walks around Lady Bird Lake, where the natural beauty of Austin offered a moment of reflection and peace. My journey had taught me that effective communication was not a solitary endeavor. It was a dynamic interplay of speaking and listening, of sharing and learning. Each new experience, whether triumphant or challenging, added a layer of depth to my understanding of language and human connection. I had learned that the true power of English, or any language, lay in its ability to break down barriers and build bridges between people. Now, as I continue to navigate the complexities of life, I carry with me the lessons learned from every conversation, every stumble, and every triumph. I am more than just a student or a public speaker. I am a storyteller, an advocate for open dialogue, and a firm believer that every person, regardless of their background, has a unique voice that deserves to be heard. Looking forward, I plan to expand conversations that connect into a broader platform, reaching even more people through workshops, digital forums, and community events. There is still so much to learn and share, and I'm excited about the endless possibilities that lie ahead. Every new conversation is an opportunity to learn something new about the world and about ourselves, and I intend to cherish each moment of it. In sharing my story, I hope to remind you all that the journey to overcoming fear is ongoing, filled with both challenges and rewards. Whether you are taking your first hesitant steps into a conversation or are already a confident speaker, know that every word you share contributes to a larger, beautiful mosaic of human experience. Let your voice be a beacon and never underestimate the transformative power of a single word. Here are some detailed tips and tricks to help you talk to people in English with confidence and clarity. These strategies are drawn from personal experiences like Emma Carter's journey, as well as proven techniques used by language learners and public speakers. Start small and build confidence. Begin by using English in daily situations, whether you're greeting a neighbor, ordering coffee, or asking for directions. Every small interaction builds your comfort level. Low stakes environments. Practice in settings where the pressure is low. For example, chatting with a cashier or a friendly classmate can be a great starting point. This approach minimizes the fear of judgment and helps establish a habit of speaking. Practice regularly and consistently. Set a daily goal. Challenge yourself to have at least one English conversation every day. Consistency is key. Over time, these small daily practices accumulate into greater fluency. Join conversation groups. Participate in clubs or meetups such as public speaking clubs or informal language exchanges. These platforms provide a supportive environment where you can interact with diverse speakers. Listen actively and learn from native speakers. Watch, listen, and mimic. Engage with podcasts, movies, TV shows, or YouTube channels in English. Pay attention to pronunciation, intonation, and colloquial expressions. Mimicking these elements can help you develop a more natural accent and rhythm. Active listening. When you listen to someone speak, focus on understanding their tone, pace, and body language. This insight not only improves your comprehension, but also helps you adopt effective speaking habits. 4. Use technology to enhance your skills. Record yourself. Use your phone or computer to record your conversations or practice speeches. Listening to your recordings allows you to identify areas for improvement, such as pronunciation, pacing, or clarity. Language apps, tools like Duolingo, Babbel, or even speech recognition apps can provide interactive ways to practice speaking. Some apps also offer feedback on pronunciation and fluency. 5. Embrace mistakes as part of the learning process. Shift your mindset. Understand that making mistakes is a natural part of learning any language. Every error is an opportunity to learn and improve. Self-compassion. Instead of being overly critical, be kind to yourself. Focus on progress rather than perfection. Remember, even seasoned speakers have moments of hesitation. 6. Develop your vocabulary and expression. Keep a vocabulary journal. Whenever you encounter new words or phrases, jot them down. Review your journal regularly and try incorporating these terms into your conversations. Practice idioms and expressions. English is full of idiomatic expressions that add color to your speech. Learning these expressions can help you sound more natural and engaged during conversations. 7. Focus on body language and nonverbal communication. Eye contact and gestures. Good communication isn't just about words. Practice maintaining eye contact and using natural gestures to emphasize your points. This builds trust and makes your message more engaging. Facial expressions. Your facial expressions should reflect the emotion behind your words. Smiling, nodding, or even using expressive looks can significantly enhance your communication. 8. Prepare and organize your thoughts. Plan ahead before entering a conversation, especially in a professional or academic setting. Think about the topics you might discuss. Preparing a few points in advance can help reduce anxiety and keep your conversation flowing. Use structured techniques such as outlining your main ideas or using the PREP method, point, reason, example, point, to help organize your thoughts and present them coherently. 9. Practice reading out loud daily. Reading regularly, read books, articles, or even news reports aloud. This practice not only improves your pronunciation, but also helps you get comfortable with speaking for longer periods. Mirror practice. Speaking in front of a mirror can be very effective. Watching yourself speak allows you to observe your body language, facial expressions, and overall delivery. 10. Seek constructive feedback. Ask for input. Invite friends, teachers, or mentors to provide feedback on your speaking skills. Constructive criticism is invaluable. It highlights both your strengths and the areas you can work on. Reflect on conversations. After each conversation, take a moment to reflect on what went well and what could be improved. Over time, this self-reflection helps you become a more effective communicator. 11. Manage anxiety and build relaxation techniques. Deep breathing exercises. When you feel nervous, practice deep breathing. Inhale slowly, hold for a few seconds, and exhale slowly. This helps calm your nerves and centers your focus. Visualization. Imagine a successful conversation or presentation before it happens. Visualization can reduce anxiety and boost your confidence. 12. Leverage community and mentorship. Find a mentor. A mentor who has experience in public speaking or language learning can provide guidance, support, and encouragement. Learning from someone who has been through similar challenges is both reassuring and instructive. Community workshops. Attend or organize workshops focused on public speaking and effective communication. These sessions often include interactive activities, role-playing, and group discussions that reinforce learning in a practical setting. 13. Integrate communication into your daily routine. Journal your experiences. Keep a daily journal where you note down new expressions, challenging conversations, and moments of progress. This record not only tracks your improvement, but also serves as a motivational tool during times of self-doubt. Blend learning with fun. Combine language practice with activities you enjoy, like watching your favorite TV shows or discussing topics you are passionate about. This integration makes the learning process enjoyable and sustainable. Below are some additional tips and tricks with full explanations to further boost your confidence and skills when talking to people in English. Engage in shadowing practice. What it is. Shadowing involves listening to a native speaker through a podcast, movie, or speech, and then immediately repeating what you hear, mimicking the intonation, rhythm, and pronunciation. How it helps. This technique not only improves your accent and fluency, but also trains your ear to recognize natural speech patterns. Over time, you'll begin to internalize these patterns, which can make your own speech sound more natural and confident. How to start. Choose a short video or audio clip. Play it back slowly and repeat along with it. Gradually increase the length of the segment as you become more comfortable. Participate in online language communities. What it is. Join online platforms and forums such as Tandem, Hello Talk, or even subreddits dedicated to language learning. These communities allow you to converse with both native speakers and fellow learners in a supportive environment. How it helps. Regular online interaction gives you the opportunity to practice real-life conversations without the pressure of face-to-face interactions. You can exchange messages, join voice chats, or even set up video calls. How to start. Create an account on one of these platforms, introduce yourself, and start by joining group discussions or one-on-one chats. Many communities also host virtual meetups or language exchange events. Use conversation prompts and daily speaking challenges. What it is. Daily prompts are topics or questions designed to get you talking. They can be as simple as, "What did you have for breakfast today?" Or, "Describe your ideal vacation." How it helps. These prompts provide structure, making it easier to start a conversation. Over time, they can expand your vocabulary and boost your confidence as you get used to thinking in English. How to start. Write down a list of conversation prompts and challenge yourself to speak about one each day. You can record your responses and listen back for self assessment or discuss the topics with a friend or language partner. Join local theater or improv classes. What it is. Theater or improvisation classes are designed to help you express yourself in a spontaneous and creative way. How it helps. These classes push you out of your comfort zone by requiring you to think quickly and speak in front of others. They also emphasize nonverbal communication, such as body language and facial expressions, which are key parts of effective speaking. How to start. Look for local community centers or theaters that offer acting or improv workshops. Even if you attend a few sessions, they can dramatically boost your confidence in speaking English. Record and analyze your conversations. What it is. Recording yourself during practice sessions, whether you're reading aloud, shadowing, or having a conversation with a friend, allows you to listen back and identify areas for improvement. How it helps. By reviewing your recordings, you can pinpoint specific challenges, such as pronunciation errors, filler words, or pacing issues. This objective feedback lets you focus on improving those areas in your next practice session. How to start. Use your smartphone or computer to record short segments of your practice. Listen to the recording, take notes on what you can improve, and repeat the process over time. Expand your vocabulary creatively. What it is. Instead of only studying new words from textbooks, try to learn vocabulary and context through songs, movies, or even by following social media accounts in English. How it helps. When you learn words in context, you're more likely to remember them and know how to use them naturally in conversation. This method also exposes you to slang, idioms, and cultural references that enhance your conversational skills. How to start. Pick a TV show, a series of YouTube videos, or your favorite podcast, and note down any new words or phrases. Then try to use them in sentences or incorporate them into your daily conversations. Practice with digital assistants and voice-activated devices. What it is. Devices like Siri, Alexa, or Google Assistant can help you practice speaking English in a low-pressure setting. How it helps. These tools provide immediate feedback, often in the form of voice recognition, and can help you fine-tune your pronunciation and sentence structure. They also give you a chance to engage in simple, everyday dialogues. How to start. Set your device to English and ask it questions. Set or EM reminders or even have short conversations. This can be a fun way to build your confidence without feeling self-conscious. 21st. Set specific achievable goals. What it is. Setting clear goals gives you a roadmap for improvement. Instead of a vague aim like improve my English, focus on concrete objectives such as initiate 3 English conversations this week or learn 10 new idiomatic expressions by the end of the month. How it helps. Specific goals make it easier to track progress and stay motivated. They also help you structure your practice sessions around measurable outcomes. How to start. Write down your goals and break them into small, manageable tasks. Review your progress regularly and adjust your goals as needed to stay challenged yet realistic. 22nd, engage in reflective journaling. What it is. Keeping a journal in English allows you to reflect on your daily conversations, note areas of improvement, and track your overall progress. How it helps. Writing down your thoughts about each interaction helps reinforce what you've learned and builds a deeper connection with the language. It's also a private space where you can be honest about your challenges and victories. How to start. Dedicate a few minutes each day to write about a conversation you had in English. Focus on what went well, what you found difficult, and what you might do differently next time. 23rd, embrace a multi-sensory learning approach. What it is. Combining visual, auditory, and kinesthetic learning can accelerate your language acquisition. How it helps. For instance, watching videos, visual and auditory, reading scripts out loud, auditory and kinesthetic, and even engaging in hands-on activities can create a richer, more immersive learning environment. This method helps solidify new vocabulary and speech patterns in your memory. How to start. Alternate between different learning activities. For example, you might watch an English movie one day, read a novel out loud the next, and engage in a physical language game or role-playing exercise another day. Final thoughts on additional tips. Remember, the key to mastering English conversation lies in consistent practice, a willingness to step outside your comfort zone, and a commitment to continuous improvement. Try integrating these additional techniques into your daily routine, and over time you'll notice not only an improvement in your fluency and confidence, but also a deeper, more natural connection with the language. Each tip offers a unique way to challenge yourself and grow. Experiment with different methods, mix them together, and most importantly, have fun with your journey to becoming a more confident and effective communicator in English.